Hey guys, it's Danny. Alrighty, let's do a follow-up on the burned root tips problem that I have. I think I found it, and it is the rain mix. The story is pretty long, so bear with me because I think this is important if you ever want to use the rain mix or consider using it. Okay, let's start with the Laelia purpurata. In my previous video 1 week ago, I think, I was telling you that I switched to pure osmosis water for 3 weeks for this orchid and I had no more issues, and indeed I didn't. When I came back from my vacation, I had to use tap water because I did not have osmosis water stored, and still I had no issues. When I came back, I actually did the video and I was telling you that it's a good idea to filter the rain mix because it has undissolved salts. And I filtered the rain mix and I watered this Laelia as well with the rain mix. Behold, 2 days after, a burned root tip right there. Do you see it? It's pretty obvious. So, rain mix. But what is it about the rain mix that makes roots burn? And is it truly the rain mix? Well, I think it really is, and I'll show you why. So first of all, let's eliminate the elephant in the room, which is Ceramis and the whole inorganic medium setup. It's pretty new, it's the first time I use this setup. I don't believe it's the setup, but in the back of my mind, I had a little bit of a doubt. However, let's eliminate the Ceramis issue. So not only do I have this problem in the Ceramis, but also in Synthic on my Stanhopeia orchid. And not only in inorganic medium, but full organic medium. This is my vanilla. And lucky me, I was doing some changes in the greenhouse and I discovered, there you go, burned root tip right there. Lucky for this vanilla orchid, I only fertilize inside the medium. However, from time to time, I do add fertilizer on her aerial roots as well, although I mix them every day with pure osmosis water. And behold, one root tip burned and second root tip burned. Lucky for her, she did not receive fertilized water when I came back from my vacation. So this root right here is doing okay. And if this isn't enough to totally eliminate Ceramis and inorganic medium out of the equation, let's take a look at the catasetum. So here's the catasetum. This is not its location, but I'm moving things around. Let's take a look at its roots. Do you see the staining on this root? This root did not touch the Ceramis. However, I have roots that do touch the Ceramis. And behold, this is a root growing out of the pot. So she grew inside the Ceramis. No staining, no root tip burning, no nothing. However, these roots, even inside the Ceramis, received fertilizer and nothing happened. How do we explain that? So let's appeal to good old sense and logic right now because we have no other option. What I suspect is going on is that the rain mix, the fertilized water, even though it's diluted, dissolved and all of that, we filter it and everything is okay. When it dries, I think it recrystallizes and it burns the most sensitive parts of the orchid, meaning the root tips. And why do I say it starts to affect orchids when it's dry? Well, first of all, nutrients cannot be consumed by plants and orchids if they're not in a soluble state, in a dissolved state. So when the medium is dry, no matter how much salt you add to it, the orchid cannot pick it up, and moreover, the salt is the one that burns the roots. So looking through my orchids, I can see that many roots are okay, but many roots are pretty much in contact with the Ceramis or inside the Ceramis. I do notice a trend. The roots that tend to get burned more often than anything else are the roots at the top or the roots that absolutely come out of the Ceramis. And you might know the Renanthera. I did an update on her. Take a look at this root. She was growing fine in the Ceramis, and the moment she started to come to the surface, behold, the burned root tip. What changed? Well, humidity. As I was saying, these salts recrystallize probably when the air is dry. So inside the medium, there might always be some moisture. And I actually never let the Ceramis go completely bone dry up to the point of orchids shriveling up and asking me for water. It's always slightly damp, and as long as there is moisture, the minerals don't crystallize. At least this is what I believe is happening. The fertilizers we use, depending on the brand, because I really didn't have this issue with any other type of fertilizer, maybe some fertilizers recrystallize when conditions are very dry. Thus, the aerial roots are the most prone to this type of damage compared to the roots inside the potting medium. And this is my suspicion, but to further add to the rain mix story, Roger here on YouTube made some discoveries. I'll link his video right here in an info card because it's interesting. He discovered that rain mix actually alters the pH quite a lot in the sense that it makes water more acidic. Now, because we're not sure if it's a problem with his own batch, I did my own experiments and here's what I found. Okay, so we'll play with the little jars in front here. They're empty. I will fill this with some osmosis water, just pouring it from the faucet right now. So let's test the salt quantity. 0.25. Mind you, this is a little broken. I really need to buy one. But anyway, it's quite low on salts. Okay, let's test the pH. And mind you, my pH meter is broken too. Anyway, it will start to show a pretty weird value, so you need to shake it up quite a bit until it reaches the true value and it stays there. So my osmosis water is usually around 7, 7.1, stuff like that. It's around the 7 mark. Okay, I think it's stabilized, so it's 6.9. So let's see how some fertilized water behaves. So it is fertilized, barely. Let's test the pH now. So the pH is somewhere around 6.5, 6.4. 6.5, 6.4, okay? So as you can see, it went down and I used quite a little less than the recommended dosage. Alrighty, so now let's fertilize this entire bottle with the quantity they recommend, and actually the quantity I used for 2 months. Okay, so we have the fertilized water here. You can see it's pretty pink. It's still a little bit under fertilized, but yeah, okay, so I used a little less than the recommended quantity. Pretty hard to approximate, and I think you'll always fertilize with different values. Let's test the pH now. And it went down to 6.2, 6.3. So indeed, the rain mix tends to acidify the water. However, I do not think pH is the problem in my case. First of all, I do not use organic medium, which in time, if it starts to break down, it becomes more and more acidic. I use inorganic medium mainly, and this pretty much stays stable pH-wise. I did test the Ceramis as well. It does not alter the pH after it's rinsed and all of that. It doesn't even alter the salt quantity, again, after it's rinsed and soaked and properly washed and all of that. And as far as I researched, a pH of 6.4 is pretty ideal for most orchids. Even a pH of 6 can be okay, although a pH of 6 I consider it to be at the very limit and not suitable for all orchids, depending on the species and where they came from. Now, as far as I see, Rain Mix never claims it does not alter the pH, and there's a video made by Keith from Orchid Supplies UK in which he does indeed show us that Rain Mix changes the pH of osmosis water from 7 to 6, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, he gets the pH down to 6. Now, both Roger and me use osmosis water, and in both of the cases, the osmosis water is around the 7 mark, which is pretty okay and pretty common for osmosis water. However, you might want to be careful if you're using rainwater, because the pH of rainwater varies a lot, depending on season even, depending on the region and so on. So if you're using rainwater that already has a low pH, let's say 6.5, you can dramatically decrease this to 5.5 if you're using the rain mix at full dosage. And that pH is pretty worrying for orchids. So like Roger says, it's a good idea to get yourself a pH meter. However, in my case, I don't think this is the culprit. I don't think this is the problem. I did not use a very, very low pH, as you could see. So I'm more inclined to believe that it's all about the salts and those damn somethings that recrystallize on my roots and actually burning the root tips. So with that in mind, I decided to pull the plug on the rain mix. I'm not going to use it anymore. It's definitely something with the rain mix. I cannot find any other culprit. So what I intend to do is just go and buy whatever no name or brand, I don't know, orchid fertilizer. Of course, I'm going to look on the label and just choose the one that's more appealing for now, because I am using osmosis water and at least the macronutrients I want to give to my orchids, or else I'm going to be in serious trouble. And I think I will start to search for the Peter's Excel fertilizer. This was actually my first option because Schwerter recommended it. I have another viewer from Poland who is very happy with Peter's Excel, and I think I'm gonna buy that one. If you guys have a link for purchase for Europe or European Union, please let me know down below, because it's not quite as available as the rain mix. Reason why I chose the rain mix, but I do not want to use that anymore. As for the rain mix, what it is inside it that affects roots, I don't know. Some people will not have issues, particularly if you have a high humidity environment. I think the drier the environment, the more you'll have issues, if you have issues. Also, I don't know if it's a bad batch. They recently introduced sulfur to the equation. I don't know if it's the sulfur. Maybe the older versions of rain mix are perfectly fine. I do not know, but if it turns out that other fertilizers do not affect my orchids, I'll definitely write a letter to a cairn letting them know about this issue, because I do believe they are a serious company and they don't want to put out a bad product. However, they might not know this is an issue. But first, I would just like to be completely 100% sure it's the rain mix before I send any emails to them. And by the way, Roger, if you're watching this, just pay attention to the roots of your orchids. I know you're mentioning you have some burns, but you just brush them off. I know your environment is more humid, but try to take a look at those orchids, let's say, who have a lot of aerial roots that are exposed to drier air perhaps. Take a look at the tips, try to be very analytic about it, and see if indeed they have some burned root tips, and let me know in a comment below. However, let's try to end this on a positive note. So we made a collaboration, the first orchid collaboration. Rachel, Astrid, myself, and Zane got together for Zane's 1000 subscribers anniversary, and we made a funny video. You can watch it in the info card, or you can find the link in the description below. So if you missed it, check it out, and yeah, let me know what you think. I think it turned out pretty well for a long distance collaboration, let's say. So alrighty guys, thank you for watching. This video will keep you up to date as always. If you'd like to stay up to date and watch more orchid videos from me, simply subscribe to my channel. I post on a daily basis. Also, feel free to leave me comments down below if you have questions, suggestions, or whatever you feel like sharing. I always read my comments, and always feel free to send me a letter at the address you see right here or in the description below. Choose an option on the screen if you'd like to visit my website orchidnature.com, or if you'd like to watch another orchid video. Thank you for joining. I'll see you all next time. Bye!